Hey everybody, welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Sliders. We're going to go through sliders today and show you all the custom sliders I have put together. These are in no way the best sliders. Why would I ever say such a thing? But hopefully they can help you. And I have tested these out and I have noticed that the game is harder. It's more realistic and it just seems to go a little bit better. But there's some stuff that you can just take it or leave it. It's up to you. All right. So let's go for the first page. So when we go into gameplay settings, ladies and gentlemen, we are first looking at all of this. Now at default, everything is just kind of not great. What I have done here is I've changed the difficulty to legend. You can change it to legend or hard. The difference between the two is not that high, but you do what you want. Weight detection, I stick with simulation. I don't go arcade style. Stamina, I keep for normal. The submission mini game, I keep it the same as just the rapid mini game. Again, you can do that or the slider because it just depends on which version you like, what works for you. Pin mini game, I leave it for timed. Pin mini game first count after the finisher. I keep that off. I have played with that before. It says that when it's on, the timed pin mini game won't accept input until the referee finishes the first count. So when it's off, inputs counts towards escaping the pin as soon as the mini game is visible. So I left this thing off for now. The trading blows mini game, yeah, boo that. I have left it on, but you can change in another setting. I'll show you that we can reduce the frequency of it. So I have left that on for now. What I've noticed is that they did a patch 1.05, I think. And with that one, I did notice that trading blows was more balanced. When the game came out, not that long ago, days ago, it wasn't good. It was happening all the time. I noticed that after the patch and not touching any settings, it went down. So I keep it on for now, but do what you will. Then we have chain wrestling. The chain wrestling I have left on, but again, you can also adjust this in future settings that we'll get into. Allow the input for mini games, have that off. Rope break, it's personal preference here, ladies and gentlemen. I turn my rope breaks off. I don't like it. I find it annoying. But it's not realistic. What are you doing? They rope break them. I don't care. I don't care. So rope breaks, I keep it off because I just find it annoying when I'm having a big moment and then they just happen to be near the ring and I'm trying to get a pin. So yeah, it's off for me. Auto reversals for ground attacks, I have that on. The entrance, mid-match, and post-match run-ins for play, I have the entrances left off. I personally don't like it when I'm going to get a run-in at the entrance. I like everyone to get in the ring, but I like a mid-match and I like a post-match beatdown. Blood we have on, obviously. Subtitles are off and the tutorial tips are off. Otherwise, they're going to pop up every 5 seconds. Creative superstars are in there. And then for the possum attack, the instant recovery, possum pins, ring escape, we have all of those left on. To the presentation settings. By the way, everybody, if you like the content here, it would mean a lot if you did hit the subscribe button and the like button. We're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers in this year. It's one of our lofty goals. So I appreciate you guys, but regardless of that, even if you don't, it's okay. It's cool. I appreciate that you decided, hey, I'm going to click on this video. I'm going to watch this dummy talk about sliders for 10 minutes. So thanks so much. Okay, gameplay camera. You have your options here. You have the standard, you have the ramp facing, which was the new one that was brought in last year. And then you have the third person camera as the option. Now I've put the third person as kind of in this scenario here. I've had that as the default so that we can play with some of the settings. Do what you will. Standard camera, I actually don't use that much anymore. The ramp facing camera is probably my favorite to the third person camera. I really do like the third person camera. It's a lot. It's obviously all the freedom that you want. So, but you can change some of those settings there in case you like it or you don't like it. So it's up to you. The invert the camera, no, I will not invert things. Third person camera field of view. So there's default, you can have a wide shot and you can have an extra wide shot if you are using the third person camera mode. If you are going to do this, it is exactly what it sounds like. The camera is going to be pulled further back and further back. It just depends on what you're doing. Remember, you can also go into the match options when you're playing the match. And if you want to adjust the cameras, obviously do it in there too. So you might find like, I'm going to go ramp camera as my default. And then when the mood strikes you right, you'll change it up and you'll go for a third person. Superstar HUD. I turn this on or off. It really depends on you. I have it on in this example here, but then I went in later and captured footage and I turned it off as part of my default because I like playing with it sometimes. The thing I realized though is that when you have control help and match rating hub, the next one, it's going to be up to you how you like that preference. Now for me, Superstar HUD, I don't find like I always kind of just left it on and never cared. It does look better when it's off because it looks like I'm playing like, you know, it's something from TV. They don't have a HUD. So I like having that off sometimes. The control help and match rating HUD. This is the one that I always wished that they would split up. So I hate that they have the match ratings in the corner. and that I can't just turn that off. You can turn it off in the settings here, but it also turns off your control help. The control help is to prompt you to hit a finisher or a signature move when it is available based on who you're using. You want the prompt for a finisher with a stunner, boom, you can hit it, it pops up. Because when you have the HUD off and when you turn off the control help and match reading HUD, you have nothing. You have no idea if you are going to hit, if you can hit a finisher or a signature at any given point. Plus, unless you really know like every superstar's moves, you may not know like, okay, I got to go to the corner to do a finisher. Like nothing's popping up. You might think it's a standing finisher, etc. So it's personal preference. You might say, yeah, I could take the control help off and the HUD off because then it's super realistic and it's a big surprise and it's actually more intense that way. So if you do turn those things off, there is a positive here, which is you are going to make your matches way more difficult and more realistic. And then finishers kind of come out of nowhere. So play with it. I've tried it a couple of different ways. And for me right now, I find that I'm turning the superstar HUD off, and I leave the control help on. Reversal prompt I leave on because I'm a big dummy. Display the referee counts, I turn them off. I don't like it popping up on my screen. The run and breakout HUD, it's up to you, but you press X or A, I guess, on Xbox if you want to be able to have the run in at the beginning of the entrance. So if you want that just to pop up in the corner, leave it on. I usually like to leave that off, so it's just not showing up when I'm doing entrances. Camera shakes. Whether camera effects consider high impact moves, if they happen or not, turn it on or off. If you find it, we want a more realistic presentation, turn off the camera shakes. I've left it on because I don't care. The camera cuts, leave those on. So cameras, this one is new. Camera cuts for the big moves, dives, etc. These are and taunts. These are all brand new that they've added in. So you can do, for example, camera cuts for big moments. You can have it never, rarely, sometimes, often, frequently. And it's the same thing for camera cuts for pins and submissions. Will the camera actually turn to you while you're doing a pin or getting pinned? How often will do it? Dive attacks, same thing. You're about to do a dive attack to the outside. How often will the camera cut directly to you? Cuts for taunts as well. You're going to press the D-pad and a taunt is going to happen. How often is that going to occur where the camera is going to focus just on you? So here's what I've done. With a lot of them for like big moments, I set it as frequently. For pins and submissions, I set it as often. For dive attacks, frequently I want them to pull the camera into me. And for cuts for taunts, I say like sometimes is the one that I like to use. And the reason why is for taunts, I have played with it where I put them on frequently because I liked it at first. I was like, oh, cool, they're actually focusing in on me. But the problem when you put it on frequently, the camera stays on you for quite a while. And then you don't know what the other guy is going to do, and you might want to pull off a move or something like that. So it's not the greatest thing for taunts, but try for sometimes. But the rest of them I do appreciate. I like that we have more camera cuts in there. Camera panning, I leave it on. You got the ringside camera cuts. This one I'm fickle with. I turn it on and off because the camera cuts, if the ringside camera cuts are left off, then the cameras pull back a little bit and it's easier to navigate. If you turn it on, I like how close it can get, but it also gets tripped up when you're trying to go like around the ring steps or Irish whip somebody and your controls are kind of reversed. Like I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really like having ringside camera cut. Super finisher VFX was added in last year. And this is when you're going to do a super finisher. Do you want it to have the visual effect of it when you're going to do like a Pepsi plunge? And then you have trigger effects, spectate control display, whether you're going to have the actual displays for the controller options for when you're going to spectate a match, if that's going to show up on screen or not for you. Your watermark, I leave on. The reversal inputs, the rest of them I have left on. For ring escape, the possum attack prompts, all of those prompts and displays, I've left them on. Okay, balancing. Now, this is not a science, at least a math science. I can't tell you that this is the best way to do it. It's just me after a couple of years of tinkering and moving things around here and there that I get a comfy position with my sliders. And I do tend to change these rates a little bit, but I don't overly fuss with it because also it's like the matches you're playing too and your style of play. So each their own, but this is at least what I've done. So everything at default is set to 50. So as we go in here, the AIs move. So like their strike rates, their grapple rates, their reversal rates, I have put these around 35. I think you could probably do them around, like, especially the top 3 to 4. You could do those around 30 and you're going to be fine. I do find that they give a little bit of a challenge, but how often they're doing it, because I lowered these. So for example, the strike reversal rate, I don't want them reversing my strikes all the time. So I turn that down. I don't want them reversing my grapples all the time. I'm trying to get more of a realistic WWE style match. Reversals aren't happening every 5 seconds, but a default, yeah, they kind of are. The finisher reversal rate, I turned that down to about 25%. The foreign objects, so if they're going to use weapons, what's the reversal rate by the AI? We have that at 30%. The grab break rates and the combo break rates, I left those at 50. The combo rate, I turned it up to about 60 to have the AI trying to do more combos. The submission rates, I dropped that way down to 30%. The dive rate for the AI, for them to do dive attacks, I turned that down to 20%. I just don't want the AI constantly doing submissions and trying to do dive attacks when the majority of superstars in WWE don't do it. It's the case of like the Omos, for example, where it's like, I don't want Omos going to try to do dive attacks. So I try to turn this down, and it makes for just a little bit more of a realistic thing. Springboard rate, same thing. I turned that down to 20%. The grapple rate from the AI, I left that at about 60%. Strike rates, we did 60%. Limb targeting, if they're going to do that, I turned that down. I don't need them to just target just my knees or just my head. Doing that specifically, I want an all-around kind of effect on me. So I lowered that to 20. The running attack rate, we turned it to 40%, and the dodge rate, I left it at 50. The trading blows rate. So again, we left trading blows minigame on, but the rate at which it's going to happen, I turned it down to 20%. I don't want it to happen all the time. And again, you guys mess with this how you like. Maybe you leave it at default or maybe lower it just a notch. But I like the mini game. I do. But the frequency that it was happening at was just, it was so often and it would go on forever. So I kept it on, but it's only going to happen like 20% of the time. And it does work. I did play this and I ended up in a trading blows mini game with like LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. But the trading blows, it didn't happen until super late in the match. Contrast that with like the first week with the game, and the mini game was popping up like in the first 5 minutes, first like 2 minutes, then 5 minutes and 8 minutes, so on. So it was way too much. For the run-ins, I set all of those for post-match run-ins. Again, I have post-match run-ins on, but you can also just change the rate of which they're happening. So I put them at 0 for now. I have gone back in here, so I'm saying like some of these I do tend to change here and there. Mid-match run-ins, like I might turn those up to 50, 60%. Post-match run-ins, again, same thing, 4 or 5%. It's how you play. But right now, I just turn them for 0. Referee downtime, I put it at 100. I like it when the ref gets knocked down and they stay down. Now, this also applies for your special guest referee matches. If you're the special guest referee, you get knocked down, you're not gonna get up again. That's the name of a song. That's part of a song, isn't it? Chumbawamba. So I do turn that referee downtime. I like it being down all the way, because referees in WWE never get up. The superstar downtime, I turn that to 20%. I don't want them down for so long. Think of like the Money in the Bank ladder match and Showcase and Tamina. She's just knocked down all the time, and it takes forever. Stuff like ladder matches, where there's going to be a lot of downtime, I don't want my superstar down forever. The basic reversal windows, as well as the basic attack reversal windows, I left those at 50%. I don't tend to mess with those very much. Signature and finisher reversals, I dropped it down to 40%. I don't want a ton of reversals happening. Weapon reversals, kind of the same thing. I dropped it to 30 because I don't want there to be a lot of reversing any of my weapons that I'm trying to use and attack. Stamina cost, I left it the same. Stamina recovery rate, for me, I left it at 50. The rollout frequency, I dropped it to about 10. I don't want them dropping out of the ring all the time, so when big moves happen. But again, if you're in multi-man matches or something like that, you might like that frequency where the AI is going to roll out. Like, I don't want to roll out a ton of the time. The rollout duration, we put it at 60, so how long they're going to stay rolled out of the ring is increased. The feeding frequency, we have it at 30. Stun gain, I moved it to 40. The duration, I left it at 50, as well as the vitality regen rate. The post kickout damage for the player, I have that at about 40%. The difficulty damage scaling, so the gameplay difficulty setting, it monitors how much vitality damage AI superstars will inflict or receive, or decrease this slider to reduce the effect, or increase the slider to magnify the effect. So again, it's just doing all this damage to the AI. How much of that their damage is going to kind of scale up or down based on what you put it at. So we cranked that to about 70 because I want to see more damage. And drag escape and carry escape, we have both of those set at 60. Then we move over to targeting. This year I don't change anything to targeting. We keep things just the way they are. And then your mini game settings, where you have your mini game settings, your timed pin mini game settings, as well as your submission mini game, and then special guest referee, which we'll talk about a little bit more in depth too. So for the mini game settings, You have the recent finisher, the influence, the previous finisher influence, and then it's kind of going into stages here. So for the first couple that we have here for the previous finisher influence, all of that, I've left those just at standard at 50. The way to kind of understand this too is like when you get to recent finisher influence AI and the previous finisher influence 3+, how many signatures, how many finishers have you taken? So for example, recent finisher influence says that the adjust the amount that a finisher hit within the last few seconds affects the difficulty of the mini game, like the pin and the submission. So how effective is that going to be when you do your first finisher? Like as soon as you go for a pin after the first finisher, is the slider for like the pin mini game, is it going to be super difficult or is it going to be normal? Look at it like how much influence the finishers are going to have. So I lower the first one. So for recent finisher influence, I've put that at 30. The second one, when you do your second finisher, I put that at 40. And then the third one, like if you're going to get 3 finishers pulled off in a match, I want it to have more impact, more influence. So I put that up to 65. So then we go to recent signature influence. I've changed it so that the signature influence, if I pull off my first signature and go for a pin, it's not going to do very much. It doesn't change how like much damage I will do with my signature. It's going to influence the mini games. So I did the first one for the signature is going to be at 20. I put the second one is going to be at 30. And then I left the third one at 50% for signatures. Okay, then we get into the timed pin mini games for your flag speed. So as you're going for pins, how fast, slow, the range on the mini game, on that whole flag, on that zone as well, how big it is, how big it's moving, how quickly it's moving. So for the easy, moderate, and difficult pins, like that's kind of the order that they go in. When you're going to go for a difficult pin, I left the first two at 50. The difficult pin indicator flag speed, I moved it to 40. I want it to go slower when it's getting into a difficult, like you're deep in the match and they go for covers. I want it to be slower, just slightly. For difficult pin kickout zone size, I want the zone size to be increased a little bit. So here I put it at like 60 because I want it to slow down just a little bit and I want the zone to be a little bit bigger for me because by default, as you know, you get really deep into a match, the AI covers you, that flag, that pin meter, it's going so fast and it's so marginally small. Like if you're a pro, you'll hit it, but you could tweak this if you want to have more fun and adjust these the way you like. So if you do a little bit of an increase for these things, like slowing it and increasing the bar size for it, the zone, then you're going to find that you're going to be able to kick out maybe one or two times a little more often than previously. Maybe you couldn't pull it off. And then that way you're going to have maybe just some fun matches where you got like kickouts going off like every 5 minutes. So again, the difficult pin kickout zone size, we have that at 60, left the easy and moderate the same. And then difficult pin kickout zone speed, I've put it down to 40. The submission mini games, I didn't touch. Go ahead and play with this. Same idea as the pins, but I don't touch submission mini games because I don't do a ton of submissions. So if you want to though, adjust these just like a little bit, like a hair here and there. So for the defense and the attacker, how strong or weak it is, the difficulty for pressing the button combinations, just adjust them ever so slightly. And then you got special guest referee. So for this, you have the bonus for fair to actions. You have the penalty for unfair actions you do. You have the bonus for good positioning. You have the penalty for inaction and poor positioning, as well as referee replacement countdown duration that you can adjust all these for special guest referee matches. The one thing I will say and preface is that special guest referee, we cannot turn off the meter. 2K, if anyone's listening, I need you guys to go in there, and when you're going to do a special ref match and you go to options for the match options, it's grayed out. We need to be able to disable the special guest referee meter so that we can just stay in the match and not get kicked out if we don't want to. You have to enable that for players because it becomes really annoying, and by default, the special guest referee settings suck. I played enough special ref matches. I love the mode. However, when you don't touch these settings, the referee is going to get kicked out like within 2 minutes, and it just breaks the fun. So here's what I've done to make the settings work a little bit better. And I have tested this, and I've noticed that the referee lasts longer in the ring, in the matchup, and he's not getting penalized as much. So for bonus for fair actions, what bonuses are you going to get by being a nice solid referee? I left that at 50, but if you want to increase this, so you're going to get, kind of good bonuses, then increase that bad boy. For the penalty for unfair actions, I set it here in this video and this footage at 40. You can play with this at like 40, 30 if you want. Then you won't get penalized nearly as much. The bonus for good positioning, getting in the ring and like getting down on the mat to get the count, I left it at 50. I didn't really care. It's the penalties that I care about. So the penalty for inaction and poor positioning, I dropped it to 35. Again, guys, play with this, turn it down a little bit, maybe even more than what I'm suggesting, because if you don't want to get those penalties, then you could just drop them completely. And then the referee replacement countdown duration, I maxed that out at 60. I want it to be the maximum amount of time I have still left in the ring before the new referee comes in. This is not perfect, and like I said, I think that they need to be able to enable that meter so that I could turn it off, so I can just have a special guest referee match and not get replaced. That's kind of the main thing. And like I said, these settings are not perfect. These are just guidelines for you all, but hopefully it helps. You can also go in and change in the roster settings for each individual superstar. And if you want to, like, you want to get really nitty gritty, change superstars' attributes. Go in to find like any of your giants, for example, and turn down their submission rates and turn down their top rope and like all of that and their dive attacks, so that those superstars are not, the frequency of which they are doing those is basically nothing. So when you want to get really nitty gritty with your roster and your settings, that is also another piece that you probably want to look at, is look at the realistic settings for each superstar. It gets a little crazy to be able to do all that stuff, but if you want it, then that's what you need to do. But hopefully this helps you guys. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.